I'm going to show a couple of programs, or actually 3, to draw the honeycomb shape for English paper piecing. So I want to start with Corel Draw. That's the one I'm the most familiar with, and then we're going to use Inkscape and Cricut Design Space. I'm going to try to get this all in my camera. All right, so let me just get a new page here. So I'm just going to use some simple shapes. All right, so if we want a honeycomb shape that has equal sides all the way around, it's 6 sides to a honeycomb, but it's not perfect like a hexagon because some of the angles are different. So I'm going to go ahead and choose the rectangle tool, hold my control key down. In Corel Draw, that gives me a perfect square when I drag with the control key held down. So while that is still selected, I want to go up here and change my dimensions to a 2-inch square so that I can end up with 2-inch sides to my, honeycomb. So I'm going to lock this button so that it'll change both measurements at the same time. So I'm going to press 2. So when I'm done, these 2 numbers need to be the same depending on whatever size I chose for my sides to be. If they are not, you can unlock that and manually type in 2 by 2 or whatever size you want. So I need to go ahead and rotate this 45 degrees. And in Corel, they have a transform menu that I can use to duplicate objects and put them at a precise measurement apart. So my transform menu is in my Docker. So you go to Windows, Dockers, and you can put whatever tools that you use the most. There's other places you can get to the transform, but I'm not sure right away where it's at. But so I'm going to select that, and in my transform menu, I'm going to choose this little position key here. So measuring out from the center of this rotated square, and you can see my dimensions have changed a little bit because now it's measuring it across the diagonal. So in this drawing program, and I think in Inkscape also, when you rotate an object, the dimensions refer to as you're looking at the object. I think and I know in the Cricut Design Space, it does not reflect that. So while this is rotated, I want another copy 2 inches away. And I'm just going to say 1 copy and make sure it's from the center, and I'm going to click apply. So those are overlapped so that this empty space right here is 2 inches. And that's exactly what we want, because if we drew a line across here and filled all this in, which is what we're going to do, we're going to have our honeycomb shape with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sides equal. I'm going to go ahead and select both of these and then weld them together. So on my toolbar, I have my weld tool. You may need to go to your shape command and weld it from there, but we're just trying to make this pretty quick. All right, so now I've got some new dimensions for this object here. The height is what I need to memorize, and it is now 2.828, and that's the measurement that I need for my next simple shape. So I'm just going to draw a rectangle. I'm not going to hold the control key down or anything like that. So I know that this rectangle needs to fill in that space right there. So I'm just going to set it here for now. So I know that this rectangle needs to be 2 inches wide because that's the sides that I am missing. So I'm going to unlock this button and I'm going to make my rectangle 2 inches wide. And then I need to write this number down. How tall this thing is from top to bottom is 2.828. So I know my rectangle needs to be 2.828, and with the unlock on. So now it's the perfect height and the perfect width to fill in those empty spots there. So I'm going to select both of them. And in Corel Draw, if you press the C, it centers. You saw it move a little bit. Let me move it way off. If I press the C, it centers them vertically. And if I press the E, it centers them horizontally. Again, there's other menus. There's many ways to do this, but if you know the shortcuts, it makes everything a lot faster. So while they're still selected together, I can press the weld tool just like I did before, and now we have one solid shape here that we can duplicate and rotate and make patterns out of it, and they will all nest together. And it's really neat to make patterns with this honeycomb shape. So let's move on to Inkscape. So I may be a little bit slower in Inkscape, but I have been practicing. So we're going to go to a new document in Inkscape, and I'm not sure if everything is on the screen here. Let me shrink it down a little bit. All right, so we're going to do the same exact thing here. On this program, I haven't seen a way to duplicate and position, so it's still easy to do. So I'm just going to draw a square by holding the control key down, select it, make its dimensions 2, and make sure these two numbers are the same here, the width and the height. And then I'm going to rotate it. Let's see, how do we do that? So I'm at the rotate menu over here. Click on that. I've already got 45 typed in there. I'm going to click apply while that's selected. Control D to make a duplicate copy of it. I also want to position this, and since I can't find the way to make a copy that's exactly 2 inches away, I'm going to position this using the coordinates here, and I'm going to do the same thing in the Cricut design space. I'm going to make this one at 0 and 0. So this one, I believe it's the X that I need to change. I need to make it 2 inches away and at 0. All right, so you can see these are ready to weld together. So I'm going to go ahead and select them and find out how do you do it in Inkscape. I think you go to Path and Union. I think there's a shortcut. I just don't know what it is. All right, so now it's the same thing. I've got a new dimension here to work with. The 2.828 is the height, and the width I don't really need to know. All right, so I'm going to draw that rectangle again, and I'm going to make that rectangle, use my select key. I'm going to make it 2 inches wide, and I want to make it that height that we talked about. Actually, I need to uncheck that. 2.828. And then I believe there is an align tool. It looks like it's snapping like it should. You know, the snap settings are turned on here, so it's snapping in place, but I want to make sure that it is. So let's find the alignment tool. So if you look over here where we found our rotate tool, if you go to this right here, with both of our objects selected now, I can choose. I have to study this a little bit. I want them centered that way, and I want them centered this way. Oops. I think I need to study this a little bit better. Let's see. Make sure they're both selected. And relative to the drawing. Center on vertical. Center on horizontal. Okay, we're good. Let me practice that without them being on top of each other. Select both of them. Let's make it way off. So they're both selected. Make sure it says, there's all kinds of choices here. First, last, biggest, smallest, whatever. So I'm going to choose drawing and then center and center. So that's perfect. So I'm going to go to Path, Union, and now we have our honeycomb that has 2-inch sides to it. Okay, let's go to Cricut Design Space. Same thing here. It's just over and over again. So you go to the shapes here, choose a square, get this out of the way so I can have all my commands here. And I'm going to turn this one 45 degrees. And I'm going to duplicate it, Control D, I believe, in Cricut Design Space. Let's get rid of this. Let's make this at the position of 0 and 0. Just makes the math a little bit easier. And then this one, there is some alignment tools that you can arrange here, but I'm going to go ahead and just type in coordinates. So this one needs to be at the 2 and 0. And they're overlapped like they're supposed to be. And once again, I'm going to weld them together, and right there, I'm going to go down to the right-hand side where my layers or all my objects are listed. I'm going to go to the Combine menu and Weld. And same thing here, the measurements have changed because we now have a object. Instead of 2 objects, we have 1. We need a rectangle, so we're going to choose that square again. Unlock that, leave the width at 2 inches and change the height to 2.828. And then let's see my alignment tools. I could just select both of these and align their centers. And then we're going to go down to the Combine again and Weld. And so there's our honeycomb.